Yaniki, Ukolo, Africa. All this we beg in your holy name. Amen. Please be seated. Good morning, honourable members and honourable guests in the gallery. I have to announce that due to the resignation of Mr. D. Plato, a vacancy occurred in the representation of the Democratic Alliance in the Western Cape Provincial Parliament. This vacancy has since been filled by the nomination of Mr. C. Poole with effect from the 6th of March 2024. Mr. C. Poole was sworn in my office on the 6th of March 2024. Honourable members, as has been our practice to date, honourable members participating in the sitting of the House, both from here in the chamber, with the presiding officer and table staff, and via Microsoft Teams. Our standing rules have accordingly been amended to accommodate such hybrid sittings, and honourable members experiencing challenges in connecting to the sitting are requested to contact the WCCPP ICT colleagues who will assist to resolve their connectivity challenges. Honourable members, the quorum requirements for the sittings of the House are provided for in the Constitution and the standing rules, and unless there's an indication of unanimous concurrence, voting will be confined to members present in the House and on the hybrid system who are entitled to cast their votes as per the ATC issued on the 11th of August 2020. Members present in the chamber and via Microsoft Teams have all the privileges and immunities imparted by law. Honourable members, members who are considered out of order by the presiding officer will have their microphones muted and called to order. The Sergeant at Arms will record members' attendance. Honourable members, I wish to remind you that in instances where these directives do not cover any particular eventuality, the standing rules must apply. And in instances where the rules cannot be applied, the ruling by the presiding officer is final. Members, all microphones have been muted. However, those honourable members participating in the sitting of the House and on the hybrid system who wishes to raise a point of order, please use the raised hand functionality of the system when you desire to raise a point of order, and I will recognise you. Honourable members, the media have also been granted access to the MS Teams as guests of the Western Cape Provincial Parliament. However, members of the press may not use the chat room or speak or activate their cameras while the sitting is in progress. If an individual who is not a member of the House activates their microphone and video camera, such an individual will be exited from the sitting immediately. Honourable members, I wish to remind you that no interjections are permitted during these hybrid sittings, and to this end, I draw your attention to Rule 40 of our standing rules. That is the logistics, honourable members. I now recognise the Chief Whip.
Thank you very much, Honourable Speaker. Honourable Speaker, notwithstanding Rule 18, the provisions thereof, I move that the motion as printed on the order paper be accepted by the House. Thank you, Speaker.
Thank you very much, Honourable Chief Whip. Honourable members, are there any objections to the motion being moved? No objections. Agreed to. The Secretary will read the order of the day.
Introduction and first reading, Western Cape Appropriation Bill, B1, 2024.
Thank you very much. I now recognise the Honourable Minister of Finance and Economic Opportunities, Minister Wenger.
Honourable Speaker, Deputy Speaker, Honourable Premier, Cabinet Ministers, Chief Whip, Leader of the Opposition, members of the Western Cape Provincial Parliament, Executive Mayors, Deputy Mayors and Mayoral Committee members, representatives from the National Treasury, members of the Consular Corps, heads of departments, special guests and people of the Western Cape. Today, I have the honour of tabling before you the 2024 Overview of Provincial Revenue and Expenditure, the Overview of Provincial and Municipal Infrastructure Investment, the Estimates of Provincial Revenue and Expenditure, the Western Cape Appropriation Bill, the Provincial Gazette of Allocations to Municipalities, and of course, this budget speech for discussion and deliberation in the Western Cape Provincial Parliament and its committees. I'd specifically like to thank the hardworking people who make up the Western Cape Provincial Treasury, led by our new head official of the Treasury, Ms. Jalinda Gantana, and each, yes. And I'd like to thank each accounting officer, you'll see them in the officials bay over there, and their teams for the tremendous determination to work together for the people of this province and in building this budget. Our Treasury team in particular deserves immense thanks, and I extend my immense gratitude and appreciation to Ms. Annelies Pick, Ms. Shirley Robinson, Mr. Malcolm Boyson, Ms. Taryn van der Reede, Mr. Paul Pienaar, Ms. Sharon van Breda, and Ms. Michelle Nicholas, and the full teams that support them. Thank you so much. Yes, I think they do deserve a round of applause. The Western Cape Budget 2024 sets a pathway to enable a growing economy, to promote the safety and well-being of the residents of the Western Cape over the medium term, giving full expression to Premier Alan Windey's State of the Province address, centered on working and striving for a better future for all. Over the 2024 Medium-Term Expenditure Framework, or MTEF, this 255.29 billion rand budget places the 7.4 million residents of this province, our vulnerable communities, and future generations at the very center of decision-making. Within the context of pressing global concerns, subdued national economic prospects, and an increasingly constrained fiscal environment, the Western Cape government has formulated a budget that responds to mounting service delivery demands within a reduced fiscal envelope. In addition, domestic risks, which include the energy crisis, state fragility, and water supply shortages, have steadily over time impacted on provincial budgeting. Given the increased need to protect essential services, the challenge we now face is to do even better, to do even more with even less. Through a robust and collaborative budget process, we have adapted our fiscal strategy and related budget policy principles to ensure that this budget responds and adapts to fiscal consolidation, enables long-run fiscal sustainability, unlocks allocative efficiency, and enhances productive efficiency. By applying these principles through a whole-of-government approach, the Western Cape government spending plans commit us to a budget that keeps building a Western Cape that works for all. A special word of appreciation to the residents from Worcester, Eersterivier, Pinelands, Brooklyn, Khayelitsha, Deep River, Kales River, Retreat, Rosebank, Stanhaven, Langeberg Ridge, Paarl, Helderberg, Kommetjie, Lanesburg, Maitland, Summer Greens, Milnerton, Goodwood, and George, who took the time to share what's important to them and who shared ideas and suggestions for this budget. This budget is for you and for every community that makes up the Western Cape and makes the Western Cape the caring, resilient, and promising province it is today.
Order, members.
Speaker, it's no secret that this is a difficult budget to table today, probably one of the most difficult this term. It was Malala Yousafzai who said that though adversity may test us, we persist with a steadfast commitment anchored by our core principles and the enduring values that have carried us through our most trying moments, serving as the wellspring of courage and resilience. And though we face tough times, we continue to build a Western Cape that works, where no child is forced to do homework under a table for fear of being hit by a stray bullet, where parents and guardians are not racked with worry about how they will put food on the table, where those who are sick are cared for by a healthcare system that works, where entrepreneurs and businesses are supported to get up and running and to expand with confidence in a certain and stable environment that enables job creation, and where innovation and progress are the order of the day, so that more residents have the opportunity to wake up to a better tomorrow. We will keep building that better tomorrow now, step by step, or as former US President Barack Obama said, brick by brick, calloused hand by calloused hand, because it is our responsibility as government to work relentlessly, day and night, to build a progressively safer, more prosperous and better future for our children. While this will undoubtedly be difficult, the decisions we make now will make the difference between continued decline and increasing unemployment and a growing economy, more employment and added opportunities in our
Order,
Western
members.
Cape that works.
Honourable Minister, please take your seat. Honourable Chief Whip, is that a point of order?
Yes, Speaker, I do rise on Rule 39. The loud conversion by Member Dugmore is disruptive. Can you please rule? Thank you, Speaker.
Thank you very much. I'm listening very carefully. Order, members. Order, members. Order. Honourable Chief Whip, Order, members. Honourable Chief Whip, I'm listening very carefully. The speaker on the floor, the minister, is not being drowned out, and we can still hear the minister. I want to caution all members that this is the minister's opportunity to do the introduction of the budget. You will have an opportunity once it has been tabled and referred to committees, and you will have your opportunity as part of the parliamentary and budgetary process. So please allow the minister to continue. Minister, I recognize you.
Thank you, Speaker. Globally, the World Bank expects international economic growth to slow for the third consecutive year to 2.4% in 2024 due to tight monetary policies to rein in high inflation, restrictive credit conditions, and stagnant global trade and investment. Geopolitical tensions and conflict continue to impact the global economic outlook negatively, with escalating conflicts bringing potential surges in energy prices, with knock-on implications for global activity, trade, and inflation. Climate change-related disasters continue to increase, putting abilities to respond under further pressure. Here at home, the economic picture remains pressured. On Tuesday, we avoided falling into a technical recession by the smallest of margins and continue to see anemic economic growth forecast of just 1.7% in 2024. This is far below the level of growth we need to uplift the 56% of South Africans living in poverty, or to support the creation of jobs for the 7.8 million unemployed people in this country. Speaker, in October last year, the warning signs were clear. For the first time, when I delivered the medium-term budget policy statement, we could only give broad estimates for allocations by cluster because of the uncertainties created by the chaotic budget process. We also faced unprecedented in-year cuts, compromising budgets that this House had already passed. In-year, we were dealt a body blow when the nationally negotiated public sector wage deal was unilaterally imposed on provinces. In the Western Cape, only our departments of health and education received partial funding of the wage agreement of 70% and 64.5% respectively of what they required. Every other department had no choice but to absorb the full cost of the wage agreement. Our shortfall remains 1.1 billion rand in the current year, and our fight for this funding through the intergovernmental dispute moves steadily forward, with the aim of establishing clear principles for how future wage deals are decided, in the hope that never again will core services be put on the line like this again.
Yeah.
We know now from the national budget delivered by Finance Minister Godongwana in February that government debt service costs will increase from 20.8% of revenue in 23-24 to 21.1% in 26-27, meaning that South Africa will spend an astounding 1 billion rand a day on servicing its debt.
Oh.
To put this into context, what the national government spends in one day on debt servicing could employ 1,126 educators, 992 professional nurses and staff nurses and nursing assistants, and 125 social workers for an entire year in the Western Cape. On top of this, the main budget revenue is projected to be lower by 46.4 billion rand in 23-24 and lower by 113.3 billion rand in 24-25 and 25-26 when compared to the 2023 budget estimates. The significant projected shortfall reflects downward revisions due to the prevailing economic conditions and the resulting decrease in corporate and net value added tax. While total funding to provinces is projected to increase year on year by 3.3% in 24-25, by 4.3% in 25-26, and 3.9% in 26-27, the increases remain well below the projected inflation rate of 4.6% over the 24 MTEF. Speaker, in South Africa today, we are very short on cash and extremely large on debt. Despite being the province with the fastest growing population, expanded by 27.7% between 2011 and 2022, and because of the delayed release of the 2022 census datasets, technical changes and data updates, the Western Cape share of the provincial equitable share is projected to decline by 379 million rand over the MTEF. Simply put, as the third largest province by population, the Western Cape only receives the fifth largest PES allocation amongst provinces. In addition to this, due to fiscal consolidation, the Western Cape government's budget is significantly reduced by 6.36 billion rand over the 24 MTEF. Conditional grants allocated by national government to provinces for specific programs have also been slashed by a net reduction of 1.1 billion rand over the MTEF. This includes cutting the Human Settlement Development Grant by 621 million rand, cutting the Ilima Letsema grant for emerging black farmers by 19.3 million rand over the MTEF, cutting the Comprehensive Agricultural Support Program by 13.3 million rand over the MTEF, slashing the Informal Settlements Upgrading Partnership Grant by 841.4 million rand over the next 3 years, cutting the District Health Programs Grant by 180 million rand over the MTEF, and cutting the Health Facility Revitalization Grant by 69.9 million rand over the MTEF. What do all these cuts, consolidation measures, and reduction in the PES mean for a government like the Western Cape that is already very lean, which already has the lowest cost to employee ratio in the country, and where caring for the needs of the poor are our primary priorities? It means that this province is forced to pull back or even cut some key plans, leaving no choice but to slow down or freeze hiring in key positions and departments, all of which come with very difficult human and social consequences. Despite the challenges, we are determined to move forward. We must work smarter, strategically plan and implement solutions, because we must keep building a Western Cape that works for all. Which is why our approach to the 24-25 budget focused first on protecting basic service delivery outcomes and supporting departments to absorb the impact of baseline reductions in the wage bill. Second, we are driving the implementation of programs within the key provincial priorities of jobs, safety, and well-being, while maintaining stability. A stable province is a working province, and we will keep building a Western Cape that works. Third, we have prioritized infrastructure maintenance. And because the Western Cape carefully plans to build a province that works for all, we are able to protect and to prioritize where it matters most: for our children, who are our future, for the elderly, for whom we must care, for the sick and the vulnerable, because we are their safety nets, so that they too have an opportunity to succeed. Speaker, we have indeed reasons to be hopeful and to forge on, because we are building a Western Cape that works and is working. Just over 2 weeks ago, the quarterly labour force survey released by Stats SA showed that the Western Cape continues to have the lowest unemployment rate in South Africa at 20.3%, the lowest expanded unemployment rate at 25.6%, the highest employment to population rate in South Africa at 55%, and the highest labour force participation rate in South Africa at 69%.
Yeah.
Over the past 5 years, 78% of the net jobs created in South Africa have been created in the Western Cape. The QLFS also showed us that unemployment in the Western Cape is on the down on the official definition by 2.2 percentage points year on year, which is the biggest decrease anywhere in South Africa. And Speaker, the unemployment rate among the most vulnerable of our unemployed residents, our African youth with less than secondary qualifications, who made up 8.7% of the total labour force in the Western Cape, has improved significantly between the fourth quarter of 2019 and 2023, with a decrease of 4 percentage points. The facts show unequivocally that we are a province that works and is at work, building a better future of jobs and dignity. Speaker, our mission will not be complete until our employment figures are worked down even further. But when compared to the national unemployment rate of 32.1%, we can clearly see that each and every day, our work to get more people into job opportunities in the Western Cape is working. Speaker, in total, this government will allocate 84 billion rand in 24-25, 84.3 billion in 25-26, and 86.9 billion rand in 26-27. Over the 24 MTEF, to keep building a Western Cape that works for all, we will allocate 182.3 billion rand to well-being, inclusive of health and wellness, education, and social services. We will allocate 45.3 billion rand to continue our work to grow the economy and enable the creation of many more jobs across the province. We will allocate 21.8 billion rand to innovation, culture, and governance as a critical tool to enhance service delivery and to do more for our residents. And we'll allocate 5.08 billion rand to safety to boost existing interventions, which includes an additional 190 million rand over the 24 MTEF, so we can keep building a future where we all feel safe. Speaker, of the total 255.29 billion rand provincial budget over the 24 MTEF, a full 2/3, 75.4%, or 192.21 billion rand is being spent to champion the needs of the poor and the most vulnerable residents in this province. To break down this budget further, some key allocations that prioritize the poor include spending at least 80 billion by the Department of Health and Wellness on primary health care, home and community-based care, mental health services, psychiatric hospitals, TB health services, and acute and transitional care in poor communities. In the past 5 years, our primary healthcare services have had over 56.7 million client contacts, so we know how vital these services are. We'll be spending at least 75.8 billion rand by the Department of Education as it addresses the learning needs of the poor through delivering quality educators, offering learner transport, and providing resources to public schools and nutrition through the school nutrition program, including education infrastructure.
Order.
65,000 learners were transported in the 2022-23 financial year, and the National School Nutrition Program in the Western Cape feeds almost 500,000 school children every day. One of the comments I received on the MTBPS was from Tara, a child commissioner, who shared, "I personally think it is extremely important because sometimes that's a child's only meal."
Order, members.
We think so too, Tara. And in this main budget, I'm happy to confirm that to alleviate inflationary pressure on the school feeding program and to make sure that the nutritional value is not compromised by rising prices, additional allocations of 63.8 million in 24-25, 67 million in 25-26, and 70.2 million in 26-27 will be made on top of the 1.6 billion rand over the MTEF from national grants. Other allocations to protect the poor include spending at least 19.14 billion rand by the Department of Infrastructure to continue the focus on a housing response for the poor by providing low-cost housing, as well as maintaining and developing vital public road networks that link residents to economic opportunities. This includes an allocation of 6.46 billion rand to develop sustainable and affordable housing opportunities, adapting to changes in national policies affecting grant funding. We'll be spending 96.4 million rand by the Department of Cultural Affairs and Sports for the Year Beyond program, inclusive of afternoon positive peer networks to continue to provide access to services in vulnerable communities and a bridge into the economy for young people not employed or not economically active. We'll be spending 51.99 million rand by the Department of Agriculture on food production initiatives, which include food gardens in communities and schools, as well as support offered to smallholder producers. And we'll be spending 7.89 billion rand by the Department of Social Development on child and youth care centres for children who are victims of abuse, neglect and abandonment, on foster care and reunification programs, on social crime prevention and diversion programs for children and adults in conflict with the law, to care for older persons and to support survivors of gender-based violence through psychosocial services, empowerment programs and shelters, as well as poverty alleviation programs by providing nutritious meals to those in need. Speaker, our work to decouple our growth rates from that of South Africa to lift many more people out of poverty and into opportunity requires meticulous planning, followed through with purposeful action. By 2035, guided by our Economic Action Plan, Growth for Jobs, we are determined to enable a R1 trillion jobs-rich, inclusive, sustainable, diverse and resilient provincial economy that is growing at between 4 and 6% per year in real terms. And we will do this by supporting the private sector, including formal, informal and township-based businesses as the driving force of economic growth and job creation in our country. To continue to build a better future, we will invest in and maintain vital infrastructure to support the growth of our businesses, our economy, and our people, which is why we will invest in fixed assets, catalytic and agricultural infrastructure over the MTEF, amounting to a total of 32.12 billion rand. This includes a significant investment of 30 billion rand, which is allocated for infrastructure maintenance and development, covering various sectors such as roads, education facilities, and healthcare. This also includes 2.3 billion rand, which is allocated to public works infrastructure for provincial government building projects, including mixed-use developments and child and youth care centres. The Department of Mobility receives 9.6 billion rand to improve safety and access to affordable transport while supporting economic growth and spatial transformation amidst climate change challenges. While we're painfully aware that persistent power cuts fall squarely at the feet of national government, we will not sit idly by while the economy and the Western Cape is turned on and off as Eskom sees fit. Currently, the #1 binding constraint for businesses and especially small businesses is a lack of stable supply of electricity. And so we're on a mission to ensure the availability of affordable, reliable electricity upon which our economy relies.
Order.
In fact, Mr. Chepo Mareng.
Honourable Minister, please take your seat. Honourable Deputy Chief Whip, is that order, members? Honourable Deputy Chief Whip, is that a point of order?
Yes, Speaker. Speaker, I rise in terms of Section 29 of the Provincial Constitution, Section 214 of the National Constitution, and Rule 185 of our provincial rules relating to the introduction of money bills. The Minister has certain rights today for the introduction of a money bill in terms of Rule 185.
Order.
And the people of the Western Cape want to hear what the Minister has to say. Unlike in National Parliament, where they have not even have dates for finishing the national budget, we want to hear what our Minister has to say.
Thank you, Honourable Deputy Chief Whip. Order, members. Honourable Deputy Chief Whip. Order. Honourable Nkondlo. I'm on the floor. Honourable members. Honourable Deputy Chief Whip. The first part of your point of order was Honourable Barnes. Honourable Nkondlo. Honourable Deputy Chief Whip, the first part of your point of order was in relation to the rules. I'm listening very carefully. I'm not going to stifle democratic interjections. The speaker on the floor is protected, and the minute I cannot hear the speaker on the floor, I will rule accordingly. Honourable members, with that, Order, members. With that being said, can I please ask you to allow the minister to make introductory remarks by introducing this budget? You will have ample opportunity in the next couple of days to make your input and have your opinion on these remarks, but it's now the minister's opportunity to make those remarks. Honorable Leader of the Opposition, is that a point of order? New point of order. What's your point of order?
Thank you very much, Speaker. Speaker, my point of order relates to the conduct of the Deputy Chief Whip. You would have recalled when she spoke, she raised initially certain rules, and then after that, she began to talk about, in her view, what's happening in the National Assembly. Now, a point of order is about a point of order, and I am disappointed, Speaker, that you have ignored the fact that her point of order went way beyond a point of order. And that, in fact, is we will continue to use your words.
Okay,
Sorry.
order, members.
We will continue to use your words of democratic interjections. We are making democratic interjections, as you said, which we are allowed to.
Absolutely.
Not democratic alliance interjections,
Okay.
but just democratic
I hear your point, Honorable Leader of the Opposition, honorable members. Order, Honorable Nkondlo. Honorable Leader of the Opposition, when I ruled that the first part of the input by the Deputy Chief Whip relates to the rules, and on that I addressed. The second part was not a point of order, and I've addressed that. The point of order that you just raised is in fact not a point of order. Honorable Minister, you may continue.
Thank you, Speaker. Mr. Chepo Marengwa from PAL wanted to know more about what we're doing to help SMMEs stay open when the power shuts off. Mr. Marengwa, the Western Cape Energy Resilience Program aims to reduce the impacts of load shedding on businesses and citizens in the Western Cape to facilitate a lower level of reliance on Eskom in the province. For this, we are allocating 759.2 million rand over the 24 MTEF to increase energy resilience in the Western Cape. I'm pleased to confirm that 153 million rand is allocated specifically for the installation of solar PVs for schools
Order.
and Western Cape government health facilities. We've also allocated 15.8 million rand in 24-25, 16.3 million rand in 25-26, and 18.3 million rand in 26-27 for the SMME Booster Fund, the SMME and township-based initiatives, because we agree with you, Mr. Marengwa, that our small businesses are the engines of our economy, providing jobs for thousands in this province. And just as the economy cannot survive without power, it cannot grow without an expanding pool of talent to take full advantage of the immense potential of our economy. The youth interventions budget over the 24 MTEF amounts to 2.9 billion rand and is an investment in our young people to make sure they have the right skills, the right qualifications, and the right experience for jobs available now and in the future. We are also determined to make the Western Cape the easiest place to do business in South Africa and Africa. This means we are hard at work developing and implementing systemic solutions to economic challenges and binding constraints. To boost the work being done to rip up red tape that bogs down businesses, an allocation of 46.7 million rand is made over the MTEF to the red tape reduction sub-program. Speaker, another resident, Mr. Bongani Tunswana from Khayelitsha, wanted to hear more about how we are helping young people access job opportunities. Part of our work to upskill our young and unemployed young people means we have prioritized skills development in export-oriented sectors with an allocation of 269.5 million rand over the MTEF through the Department of Economic Development and Tourism, who will target technology and BPO, clothing and textiles, artisanal development, and work and skills. This will deliver training and internship experience so that more young people can join the job market permanently. And Speaker, because we understand that the
Order,
cost-
members. Honourable Minister, please take your seat. Honourable Mkondlo, I've allowed interjections because I don't want to stifle debate and I don't want to create a situation where you are not allowed in terms of the rules. But this running commentary while the minister is delivering is completely out of order. Can I please ask that you allow the minister an opportunity? She is on the floor. You will have, as I have indicated before, numerous occasions in the next couple of days to make your input. That is the minister's opportunity now, and as the Deputy Chief Whip alluded to earlier on, there is the citizens of this province that wants to hear this budget speech by the minister. Minister, my apologies, you may continue.
Thank you, Speaker. We understand that the cost of transport is an obstacle too many young job seekers face. The Department of Mobility has launched its innovative job seeker voucher to connect young people with work opportunities. As part of the 7.5 million rand allocated in 24-25 to make 180,000 gold cards available for improved access to opportunities. We are hard at work on the basics that all businesses and residents need to increase opportunities for residents in every region of the Western Cape. Speaker, it is a sad reality that as South Africans, we all share the deep and real fear of falling victim to crime, and we take the reduction of crime in the province extremely seriously. We will continue to work hard to make the Western Cape safer for all who live here. Through the Department of Police Oversight and Community Safety, we will continue to fund law enforcement operations in the province, including the law enforcement reaction units, K9 units, and other safety partnerships to bolster safety in all municipalities in the most crime-affected areas of the province. Over the MTEF, we have allocated 1.06 billion rand for the continuation of the Law Enforcement Advancement Plan, the LEAP program. Over 1,200 LEAP officers will continue to enhance safety in the province. In total, we will allocate 2.28 billion rand to improve policing through the oversight of the South African Police Service, the resourcing of the provincial policing functions, and the capacitation of community-based safety partnerships. Through the new Western Cape Mobility Department, traffic law enforcement is allocated 1.56 billion rand over the MTEF to enhance safety and security on provincial roads to achieve the long-term vision of reduced fatalities and serious injuries. We know that prevention is better than cure, and so this government has established the Violence Prevention Unit to help identify, prevent, and reduce violence in communities through collaboration between law enforcement and prevention efforts, targeting high crime areas and implementing effective violence prevention methods. For crime prevention and support, including for programs that support young people to choose a better path, 1.09 billion rand has been made available. Where people do fall victim to crime, we have allocated 228.5 million rand to fund victim support programs to deliver psychosocial support services. We have also allocated 31.8 million rand over the MTEF to maintain gender-based violence services, such as victim empowerment programs, shelters for victims of gender-based violence, and psychosocial support services, which in the 22-23 financial year provided support to 18,500 victims of gender-based violence. Speaker, the well-being of our residents is paramount, and we support this priority through its different pillars of health services, mental well-being, education and learning, and meeting basic needs and protecting human rights. To achieve these goals, 182 billion rand is allocated to well-being over the 24 MTEF. The largest additional allocations in the 24 budget were for the Department of Health and Wellness, the Department of Education, and the Department of Social Development. Overall, spending on the education priority area increases by 1.54%, and spending on the health priority reflects an increase of 2.2%. In health over the MTEF, 94.49 billion rand is allocated for the continuation of the department's healthcare strategy. This includes 21 billion rand for primary healthcare, such as child and adult curative care, preventative services, antenatal care, postnatal care, fertility and contraceptive services, mental health, TB, HIV and AIDS, and chronic disease management. 1.9 billion rand for home and community-based care services, which will help strengthen population outreach programs, intersectoral collaboration, and community engagement. And 1.3 billion rand to continue our fight against the leading cause of death attributable to communicable diseases in South Africa and the Western Cape, tuberculosis. Additional funding for community interventions and telehealth support will strengthen current TB interventions through empowerment. The response from the Health Department specifically includes improving mental health care services, and 3.96 billion rand has been allocated over the MTEF, including a new acute psychiatric care unit at the Khayelitsha Hospital. In education over the MTEF, 98.68 million rand is allocated to support learners to read with meaning and to enhance their language competency. We are expanding our support for children at risk, with a growing number of early childhood development facilities receiving targeted assistance, underscoring the commitment to inclusive and impactful early childhood development initiatives, which will receive a total allocation of 413.6 million rand, bringing the total allocation for ECD to 3.8 billion rand over the MTEF. For children who require support in specialized schools, we will allocate 71.4 million rand in 24-25, 74.9 million in 25-26, and 78.3 million rand in 26-27 to respond to the needs of autism spectrum learners and to support the placement of these learners that are best for them. To make sure that children with profound and intellectual disabilities are cared for, 70 million rand is allocated in 24-25, 73.8 million in 25-26, and 77 million rand in 26-27 to ensure appropriate educational access for these learners, which includes provisions for upskilling caregivers, nutritional support, and funding for institutions. In social development over the MTEF, 1.12 billion rand is allocated for the child protection system over the 24 MTEF under the Child Care and Protection sub-program of DSD. Part of this funding will maintain the operation of the CYCCs as well as child protection non-profit NPOs. 669 million rand has been allocated to care for persons with disabilities. Mr. Estienne de Jong Maritz from Langeberg Ridge wanted to hear more about plans to help homeless people. Mr. Maritz, to combat homelessness, 89.8 million rand is allocated to fund the continuation of services for homeless adults, including subsidies for homeless shelters, reunification services, and psychosocial support services. And for poverty alleviation and sustainable livelihoods, we will allocate 166.6 million rand, most of which will go to food distribution centres and community nutrition centres. As the cost of living crisis continues, this support for those who need it most is a literal lifeline. Speaker, to give life to our value of innovation, 68.36 million rand is allocated over the MTEF to enable this government to do more with the ever-decreasing fiscal envelope received from the national government. In a broader environment of fiscal uncertainty, austerity, and a rapidly growing population and declining equitable share in real terms, to think about and design alternative and blended financing options and optimize our own revenue sources to create stability for the provincial budget. Provincial Treasury is exploring different approaches to alternative and blended financing and engaging stakeholders on the potential of outcome funds and social impact bonds. These efforts are aligned to and complement the work that the National Treasury is doing to advance the scope and potential for alternative financing to catalyze and crowd in private sector financing, in particular for infrastructure investment that is critical to boost our economic growth prospects. A palpable problem that affects us all is climate change. In June and September last year, floods, which caused a total of 1.6 billion rand in damages to the Western Cape infrastructure, is just one example. In response, the Provincial Treasury accessed 388 million rand from our unforeseen and unavoidable reserve to partially fund repair and reconstruction work. And we are still waiting to hear whether the National Disaster Management Centre will contribute to these declared disasters. We have identified climate finance as an important source of alternate finance and blended finance for South Africa and the Western Cape. $8.8 billion in climate finance has been pledged to South Africa, and national government has raised $3.3 billion US so far from multilateral development banks and international finance institutions to support climate change, energy, and just transition objectives. This government will be actively engaged over the 24 MTEF in accessing climate finance to mitigate climate-related loss and damages and to build back better climate-adapted infrastructure. With the Departments of Environmental Affairs and Development Planning and Agriculture taking up the lead on our climate change responses. Our Fiscal Futures project will play a key role as we keep building a Western Cape that works now and into the unknown. A key application of the tool over the MTEF is to estimate the impact of the 2022 census data on the Western Cape's provincial equitable share
Honourable
and its
members.
fiscal framework. It features dashboards for visualizing financial positions. It supports scenario planning and facilitates expenditure risk management. The process will help us to better analyze national revenue trends, spending pressures, and provincial revenue projections to better forecast the province's financial position into the future. Speaker, as South Africans, we have in our mind's eye a vision of a future that is bright. The details may look different to each of us, yet we all share the dream of being able to walk home safely, of having the dignity of a job, of being able to provide for our families. We all want safe drinking water, well-maintained roads and bridges needed to get to work and back. We all want and deserve a constant supply of electricity to not only sustain, but to help businesses grow and employ even more people. We all want a future where, if needed, we have access to quality healthcare, where we have the support for our mental health needs, and where we can be safely cared for and helped if we suffer abuse. While this dream may be or may seem far off, it does not have to be. With the right policies to attract and incentivize investment that support and enable the private sector, with expertly designed and implemented plans, and through determined action, the future that we are building towards is possible. And the proof is right here in this province, in the growing number of employed people, in the country's lowest unemployment rate, and the country's lowest inequality rate, where more people have access to the opportunities they need and deserve. Speaker, as I conclude, I'd like to thank the many citizens from every corner of the Western Cape who had their say on the 24-25 budget. To the Consuls General for continued friendship and partnership as our major and emerging trading partners, which we value very much. To my Cabinet colleagues and to the Extended Budget Policy Committee, thank you for your commitment to informing and implementing this budget. To the accounting officers and their teams who exemplify what it means to be citizen-centric. To the entire Provincial Treasury under the immensely talented and dedicated senior leadership team, thank you. To my exceptional team in the Ministry of Finance and Economic Opportunities for the tremendous support you have and continue to offer me day in and day out. To my colleagues in local government at the coalface, I appreciate the good working relationships between our spheres of government for Western Cape that works for all. And finally, to my dear family, thank you for your enduring love and support. Speaker, the budget I table today strikes the difficult balance of protecting the essentials now for the poor and vulnerable who need it the most, and prioritizing key interventions that will take us all into the future we want as we keep building a Western Cape that works for all. Thank you.
Thank you.
Order. Thank you very much, Honourable Minister. Thank you very much, Honourable Members. Order. The Secretary will now read the bill for the first time.
Western Cape Appropriation Bill.
Honourable Members, in accordance with Rule 188, subsection 1, the introductory speech, Honorable members, have you concluded? I'm on the floor, so please protect me like I protect you when you're on the floor. In accordance with Rule 188, subsection 1, the introductory speech, the bill and papers laid upon the table will be referred to the relevant committees for consideration and report. Honourable members, before we adjourn, I would like to remind members that the Budget Committee meeting will commence 30 minutes after adjournment of the House. That concludes the business for the day. The Secretary will now end the meeting and all members will be exited from the sitting. The House is adjourned.